Hello Ace, this is RetroTK2 and today we're learning about the constant keyword in C#. If this is your first C# video in the series, I'd strongly suggest watching it from the start. Card should be on your screen now. And if you haven't already, might I suggest downloading the channel files that accompany this video. Card should be on your screen once again. So let's get started. So how do you use the constant keyword? Well, according to the Microsoft docs, you use the constant keyword to declare a constant field or a constant local. Constant fields and locals aren't variables and may not be modified. Constants can be numbers, Boolean values, strings, or a null reference. Don't create a constant to represent information that you expect to change at any time. For example, don't use a constant field to store the price of a service, a product version number, or the brand name of a company. These values can change over time, and because compilers propagate constants, other code compiled with your libraries will have to be recompiled to see the changes. And there's a wonderful little example of the constant keyword in action is. Remarks. The type of a constant declared specifies the type of the members that the declaration introduces. The initializer of a constant local or a constant field must be a constant expression that can be implicitly converted to the target type. A constant expression is an expression that can be fully evaluated at compile time. Therefore, the only possible values for constants of reference types are a string and a null reference. The constant declaration can declare multiple constants, such as like so is. The static modifier is not allowed in a constant declaration. A constant can participate in a constant expression, like so is. Note, the read-only keyword differs from the constant keyword. A constant field can only be initialized at the declaration of the field. A read-only field can be initialized either at the declaration or in a constructor. Therefore, read-only fields can have different values depending on the constructor used. Also, although a constant field is a compile time constant, the read-only field can be used for runtime constants, as in this line. And it gives a nice little example of this. Okay, so a fairly brief example there is, so let's see this in our code. Open up Unity and create a basic C# script. As always, make sure you give your script a different name than any other class in your project. I'll also be using Unity Spice for all our logouts here is. If you'd like to get it yourself, follow the card on your screen now and follow the instructions after that. Right then is, so constants. So in order to declare a constant in your access modifier that you want to use, you type out the const keyword and give your constant a type. Here we're going to use an int, and I'm just going to call it my int for the sake of argument and set it equal to 100. And that is it. Pretty much that is your constant. So let's have a look here. My int, and you can use it like so. Essentially like that. My int will always be, this my int will always be 100, and you can use it throughout your code. You can also create different classes to house the, let's call this A34, to house the actual constant that you want to use, and we will call this public constant. Pi is a good shout. I forgot this here. We'll give it the float value, and we will call this 3.145. I believe it is. I think there's somewhere that goes with that is, but we will give this one for now. And very like our static keyword, fair enough. Static variables, we'll say. You can have it, or static fields, should I say, you can have it so that you can use this constant in the exact same way. So if I wanted to do the area of a circle, and we will say it will have a radius of 5. And for everybody who knows circles, it is pi r squared. So let's have 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by, of course, pi. You can use it like so is. Really, that's probably about as far as you'll probably want to take constants. Let's try and create our local constant, as the one said that you could do. This, I've never used local constants, but of course there's no reason why you couldn't. You can also have a constant of a string nature, str, if you wanted to have a very specific string value, I guess. I don't know, something like so. you could use that, Ace. Constants are excellent whenever you've got something that is never going to change, Ace. Now, the docs used the example of like price. Price is usually always going to change. Brand name for the company, I'm very surprised about. I'm not exactly sure what they mean by brand name. Like, do they mean Microsoft? Because chances of Microsoft ever changing their name from Microsoft is very slim. Maybe they mean some other sort of off thing or whatever. But yeah, I mean, usually what I use constants for, certainly whenever it comes to Unity stuff, is for unique identifiers or certain secrets that you'll have. Whenever I say secret here, I don't mean that, you know, we're just making up our own little secrets. Usually these are keys that are associated with apps that go on the App Store, and there'll be some sort of unique identifier for plugging into whatever API or service. Sometimes you have to use that. And constants can be great for that. I would probably, usually always do that, and then call this here app number Steam, maybe something like that, and just use it throughout the code as that. And because it's a constant, you know that this value is never going to change, and therefore it should never be a problem. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot else I can really say about constants. I mean, this is how you use them. They can be private. If you want to have it as a private constant, that's great. They are very, very useful for something called magic strings. Let's give me an example of a magic string. Bad example, but we'll go with it for the moment. How's about max HP? So say we wanted to have something that was a max HP, and we knew that in our code, making a pig's ear, this one is Control-Alt, go to create a field, call it a const and int. And we knew that our max HP was always going to be 100. Now even then, this is still pretty tricky, but rather than having it so that we set it equal to 100, which is just some magic number or a magic string or something that's completely out there, let's face it, you can set it equal to the max HP, and now this value has some sort of meaning. It's like, max HP, we're there, perfect. One thing it can be excellent for, actually, constant strings, especially whenever we get into actual Unity development, can be animation names. So the name of the animation, so we have walking anim, and then we can set in whatever the actual string is going to be, base layer, I believe it is. Whatever the actual string name is going to be in our code, so that anytime that this changes, we've only got to change it in one place, as opposed to having to change it throughout our code. Because if this was littered through our code base, like so, seems a little bit unnecessary to prove a point, but if we had this throughout our code, then, you know, and we went and changed the animation name to walk instead, or if we even just wanted to change, maybe we wanted to have certain blend trees or whatever going on, you could understand why you would want to change the animation name. You would have to do it everywhere throughout your code. Now you could do, of course, you know, the old Control F method, like so Ace, and then, you know, go through and change it like that if you really wanted to. But believe me, this is going to be a more accurate way of doing it, and yeah, just a generally better way of doing it is. So super quick, super short, to the point is, and that's constants for you. So yeah, rate, comment, and subscribe. Yes, I hope you're enjoying this series. I certainly am enjoying the series. I'm having a great time with it, and we're racing through these topics, which is fantastic. You can email me at retrotk2@gmail.com if you've struggled a wee bit with constants. Thank you for watching this, and I'll see you in the next video.